Not today, Donald. A federal judge who Donald Trump appointed by the name of Dabney Frederick just ruled against the Trump administration as the Trump DOJ tries to extend their pardon of January 6th insurrectionists for the actual insurrection itself to incidental and other acts by the insurrectionists that a lot of the insurrectionists are saying is related to the January 6th insurrection or arising out of. For example, people who were investigated by the FBI in connection with January 6th. The FBI may have found grenades or weapons that they weren't allowed to have, or the individuals may have engaged in other criminal conduct during the investigation. And at first, the Trump DOJ had taken the position that no, the pardons just relate to January 6th. If that wasn't vile enough, it's not going to be the other things. And then the DOJ changed course and they said, you know what? If you kind of take a look at the fruit of the kind of poisonous tree doctrine, but kind of put it in reverse, I guess, if you will, that anything that arose out of January 6th investigations at all, no matter if it has no connection with J6 itself, the pardon applies to all of that conduct. And Harry and I covered that in a prior take that we did. And now this Trump judge is really the first judge to just outright reject this Trump DOJ interpretation of the pardon to expand the reach of the January 6th pardon to cover crimes that had nothing to do with the Capitol attack. Harry, it's kind of crazy when I even put it in those terms. You take a look at this case involving Daniel Edwin Wilson, and here's how this Trump-appointed judge, Judge Friedrich, put it in her opinion. She's like, look, Dan Edwin Wilson was charged with multiple offenses related to his conduct at the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021. On May 17, 2024, Wilson pled guilty to conspiracy to impede or injure federal law enforcement in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 372. That's a pretty bad count right there, injuring police officers. Then at the same time, he also pled guilty to two separate and unrelated charges originating in the Western District of Kentucky in 2022. Possession of an unregistered firearm, 26 U.S.C. sections 5841 and 5861 sub D and 5871, and felon in possession that were transferred to this district. During his plea, Wilson, a three-time convicted felon, admitted that he illegally possessed 6 firearms and 4,800 rounds of ammunition on June 3rd, 2022 in the Western District of Kentucky. And so, Harry, this was the kind of guy, three-time felon, was involved in the insurrection, then pled guilty again to felon in possession and having these weapons. A bad dude. And the judge said, whoa, DOJ. First you come to me and say the pardon doesn't apply. Then you want me to say that it does apply so that this guy now gets off here. She's like, look, if Trump wants to pardon this guy, make it clear, do an amendment to his pardon, pardon him again on these other claims, if that this three-time felon, if that's what he wants to do. And then she goes, otherwise, I'm ordering that the defendant shall self-surrender to the Bureau of Prisons as directed by the United States Probation Office to serve the remainder of the 5-year concurrent sentence imposed by the Western District of Kentucky. I really wanted to read the facts about this guy. Yeah. Show you who it is that the Trump DOJ is doing all this to try to help. Harry, help us understand this.
Yeah, so let's just start there. Think of where we've come, Ben. Remember, it was, will he pardon anyone at all? And then, as affirmed by Pam Bondi and J.D. Vance, certainly you don't pardon violent criminals from January 6th. And that's not just January 6th. That's an overall standard. And somebody with this kind of record and without true remorse, you don't pardon. And now, so all of a sudden, there's the wholesale pardon. But that next step, they've somehow concluded at DOJ that this is in their interest. They are so bullish about defending these true patriots and whatever they think of them as, that they go before. It's a special statute 2255 that says undo this whole crime that you've convicted them of. The same, you might use it if somebody, say, didn't get effective assistance of counsel, but undo it. Why? Because the pardon covers it. Now, so just for starters, where have we come that they are so pardon happy for anybody involved in January 6th? But then second, the legal claim. And Judge Friedrich, yes, she's a Trump appointee. She is more as they go in the kind of establishment Republican Washington crowd. She's a sort of longtime player in DC, but it's a plain language opinion. It says right here, crimes related to January 6th. Where do you get from there? The argument was because it so happened, as you said, it sounded ridiculous, with all respect, when you said it. That's because you said it accurately, and it was ridiculous. Well, if you somehow came across or served a search warrant and that gave you evidence of other crimes, that's not how pardons work. That's not how statutory language works. I mean, it was such an attenuated holding, but you had this funny position where both the government and the guy now sentenced to 5 years were saying, yeah, let me out. I like that. And Friedrich had to steer the course of just common sense and plain meaning. So that's what decided it on the law. But as you say, on the facts, the brazenness and the crazy embrace of people whom we all saw, and some of whom acted violently, like this guy, actually tried to storm the Capitol to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. That's how much we've migrated now under Trump, to the point where they are some kind of patriots and heroes. It is an absolute Alice in Wonderland, bizarre world.
Harry, I got to get your take as a former leader in the Department of Justice, as a former top federal prosecutor. You were the United States Attorney from the Western District of Pennsylvania, about this embrace by Donald Trump of these January 6th insurrectionists. Now, on Friday, Donald Trump spoke at the DOJ with the new Attorney General, Pam Bondi, there. This press conference was supposed to be about fentanyl confiscation. Bondi brought a bunch of fake fentanyl packages with her. It was all ridiculous charade to begin with, but that's not what Trump talked about. Trump talked about his affection for the January 6th insurrectionists. Now, he gave that speech to a crowd filled with Department of Justice lawyers in D.C., as Trump basically called the insurrectionists the real patriots. He called Mike Flynn a patriot. He went on to call, all of these other types of people patriots. And then he attacked former FBI directors, former top lawyers, former special counsels, for, people who were respected at the DOJ. And then he also said that CNN and MSNBC are illegal. I just don't get how. I understand, the jobs are important at the DOJ, and to some extent, do you still want good talent to stay there versus quit? And are they the last line of the, but the fact that they could just sit there, listen to it, not walk out, laugh at some of the things, it was awful. I just want to get your take on that before we go.
Yeah. Look, it was a command performance, and I can assure you, I was in that very room, by the way, for the farewell ceremony for the last folks, and the place, as it always has been until Pam Bondi took over, was just replete with affection and respect and gratitude for the career folks. This is 2 days, Ben, after they took the kind of crown jewel of the department, the public integrity section, and just completely raised it. Took 30 attorneys and got rid of 24, and the 6 remaining won't even be able to do their own cases. They'll help with investigations. So completely ruining the public corruption function of the department. This is a department that knows itself to be under assault by these, attacking invaders. That's the only way to put it. And if you have to show up, and they can order you around. And in fact, among the things they've done is taken some very senior attorneys and said, from now on, you can act like very junior ones. I mean, that's that much of the rules of the game, but it's a game that really and truly is not just demoralizing, but infuriating. You have, for the first time in my experience, I've served attorney general of both parties, but they've always had this basic respect for the DOJ function. You have people who have come in with lies saying that everything that the department did for years was weaponization, complete garbage, and it's the biggest operation the department has ever done. The judges feel this too. And then complete contempt, but based on nothing, just these assertions, and then really slapping people around, firing them, transferring them out, making the public justice function of the department weaker and weaker by the day. So I guarantee you that the people who were sitting there, with very few exceptions, whether or not they voted for Trump or not, it's not a Republican Democratic issue, it's a DOJ institutional issue, were filled with horror and contempt. These are the darkest days for the department in its history.
Great to get your perspective on it, Harry. I mean, it's why I watch and listen to the Talking Feds YouTube, the Talking Feds Substack, the Talking Feds podcast. Everybody should listen to it as well. I mean, you clerked for 2 Supreme Court justices. You led the you're one of the leaders in the Department of Justice. You led the Western District of Pennsylvania. So let's face it, folks, Harry knows what he's talking about when it comes to this stuff. There's no one really out there that has this knowledge. It's where I get my legal knowledge from. Harry, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Ben.
Everybody hit subscribe here. Let's get to 5 million.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.